Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I'm your host Eric Smith, and as of right now it's just a few days before Halloween, so I have a few more horror novels I want to talk about, and we're going to start, or continue I guess, since I've been doing this all month. But anyway, today I'm talking about House of Skin by Jonathan Janz. This is another Sam Hain book. I'm reading all Sam Hain this month, because they're a fantastic publisher. I like most of what I've read by them, not everything. And Jonathan Janz, one of their premier authors, I say. I don't know if anyone else feels that way, but fantastic writer. So House of Skin. Got some visual aids for this one. Excuse me. House of Skin starts off with sort of three separate stories. First, we've got Julie Marrow, really the first main character that we're introduced to, and she gets herself in a bit of trouble. I won't say what it is, of course, because I don't want to spoil anything, but that's where we find her, right off of the bat. Then we're introduced to Paul Carver, and Paul is a young man who has broken up with his girlfriend, quit his job with his family's business. I believe they're in banking. And he is moving to Shadeland because he has inherited a house from his uncle or great uncle, whatever that relationship is, a relative. So we're introduced to him as he's moving to his new residence. So that's the second storyline we've got. Then the third storyline is actually a series of flashbacks that start, I believe, around 1948, and they introduce us to Miles Carver and Annabelle Carver. Miles is very depraved and Annabelle is very evil, and they reside in Watermere, which is the home, the mansion that Paul Carver has inherited. So we start off, we've got Julie's story and what's going on with her, and we've got Paul's story and him moving out to Watermere and checking out his inheritance for the first time. And in the mix of those two stories, we've got a mystery that brings in one of the other characters, the sheriff. And while all that's going on, we're getting these flashbacks with Miles and Annabelle. Like I said, I think they start around 1948, but each flashback is a little closer to the present, so we're getting their history leading up to everything clashing together. Get my visual aid out again. Julia and Paul will meet up and start a relationship. And this all has to do with sort of the legacy of Watermere, or the Carver family, and of course the horrible things that Miles and Annabelle did will have a huge impact on the present, and it will impact Julia and Paul. That's basically it, I guess. It all comes to a head. So, again, I'm always trying not to give anything away. I say that pretty much every video, I think. So that's House of Skin by Jonathan Janz. And it's a fantastic, creepy, haunted house kind of thing. There's much more to it than just a haunted house kind of thing going on. But it does have that sort of haunted house legacy coming back to bite the ass of the people in the present. And Janz does a wonderful job with his characters, as always. He writes full-blooded characters, and I don't think none of them are cookie-cutter characters, except maybe Annabelle and Miles might be the closest to cookie-cutter. Simply because they're the evil and depraved characters. But Paul, Julia, the sheriff, whose name I can't remember. I should have written it down. Should have made a little drawing of him with a little sheriff hat. Anyway, they're full-bodied characters. They have those qualities that you're going to root for, and then they have their bad qualities. And some of the other characters that come and go in the story, you get a feel for them, even though they're not on stage as much as the other characters, and they don't get quite as much development. You get to know who they are, and you'll care one way or the other what happens to them. You may want bad things to happen, you may not want bad things to happen, but it's a horror novel, so you never know. Sometimes bad things happen. But that's one of Jonathan Janz's strengths, is his characters. And actually, this book is, I believe, the first novel he wrote, but the second novel that was actually published. Sam Hain first published the second novel he wrote, which is The Sorrows. And there's a little tangential connection between the two books. In The Sorrows, the main character works in the movie industry. He writes music for movies. And he's gone to the main location in The Sorrows to write the score for a movie called House of Skin. I don't remember. I read that quite some time ago, and I can't remember if they ever mention what the movie House of Skin is about, and if that reflects what this story actually is. But anyway, that's just a nice little tangential connection. I kind of like that. A little nod, I guess. And The Sorrows is worth reading as well, of course. But this one, and another kind of freaky cover. I don't know which one of these. See, I'm leaning over here. You've got the cover picture of Watermere, and then you've got mine. Frankly, I like mine, especially because I added a little extra atmosphere here. But so yeah, it's a very good story. The tension builds. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it definitely gets crazier as the book goes on. It starts out a little bit of stuff going on, but as Paul settles down in Watermere and starts to be influenced by the house, things start to get a little out of hand. And after he meets Julia and the things that go on between them, and with the sheriff involved because of some other things that have happened, it builds and builds and builds until the huge explosive, not literally, but explosive ending. Pardon me. I'm feeling a little parched. I wonder if I can get a Mountain Dew sponsorship. Yay. I've changed my setup. Now I can reach my drink when I'm doing this. And you can see the background here. My new background. This is a Marvel Zombies t-shirt quilt. And I wish you could see the bottom ones. There's some really good ones down there. But anyway, that has nothing to do with the book I'm talking about. So as I was saying, it's a slow build, but it holds your interest because the characters are so interesting, and you get these little bits, and you want to know what's going to happen. And of course, with the 3 different storylines, before they all come together, you want to see what's going to tie it all together. Plus the flashbacks with Miles and Annabelle are just crazy. The stuff those crazy kids get into when you're evil and depraved. It's just nuts. So yeah, that's House of Skin by Jonathan Janz. Pick it up. You should pick it up and read it before Halloween, but you don't have to do that right away. You can read it after Halloween. That's the nice thing about a good horror story. It's good any time of year. Checking the calendar. So we're 3.5 days away from Halloween, and I think I have 2 more books I want to talk about before the end of the month, if I can get to them. Yeah, it's been a good month for books. Reading all these great Sam Hain stories. Excuse me. Like I said, there's a few books I've read by published by Sam Hain that I wasn't thrilled with. But what I've picked to read this month has been a really good batch. But then I have been picking authors that I'm familiar with. And so no surprise that I enjoyed. Although, sometimes authors have a misfire. But in this case, I've been lucky. And everything's been good. I've got a few more by Jonathan Janz to read. And there's a few he's got out that I don't even have yet. It's hard to keep up. So many books in so little time. But, yeah, I know, I keep showing the cover. I could show my drawings, Try to make this safe for work. No nudity in this review show. So, yeah, good old Sam Hain. And good old Jonathan Janz. Good stuff. I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. I covered Julia. I really haven't said too much about her, but I mean, right off the bat, first chapter, some stuff goes down with her. Our introduction to her is rather jarring, so I don't want to say too much. But of course, we get to know her and we see what she's going through. Her story's parallel to Paul Carver's. He's an interesting character, and the thing that they change, which is a good thing in any book. You want character growth. You don't want people to be stagnant. So it's good that they go through their changes and they meet. Oh, it's so nice. The sheriff. See, I don't want to say too much. Give away how everything ties together. The sheriff's an interesting character. I wasn't real happy with him. The first time he meets Paul, he seemed like kind of a dick. But there's a reason for that, which will be explained. And everything sort of, I was going to say ends satisfactorily. But when I say that, I mean everything is tied up. Everything is explained. Not that it's a satisfactory ending for all the characters. Just that I don't think there were any loose ends. I think it all comes together really nicely. The characters are pretty true to themselves. Which is a problem I have with some books when the characters act out of character. But I don't think that happens in this. I don't think there are any of the secondary characters I really need to mention. We meet Paul's ex-girlfriend, some other people. Julia works at the library, so we meet one of the women that she works with. Meet some of the deputies that the sheriff works with. But I don't think there's anything important that I need to say about them. So I think I've covered everything I want to cover. I say this all the time too, but I really should start making notes so I don't forget the stuff I want to talk about. I've been a little busy. Things have been hectic, and I put off doing this review. I should have done it right after I finished it, when it was still fresh in my mind. And it's still pretty fresh, but I've read 2 books, 2 or 3 books since I read this one. So, anyway, alright, that's enough rambling. Good, creepy ghost story. Ghost-ish story. I don't know if there's really... Well, I guess there's ghosts. I don't know. It's really hard to explain. There's crap going on in the house, in Watermere. So anyway, that's House of Skin by Jonathan Janz. My latest Halloween 2014 selection and recommendation. As always, I will put a link for this book in the description down below. If you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments down below. Please like, share, and subscribe. I'm always happy to hear from people, whether you have something good or bad to say. I like to have a little discussion, a little dialogue going on. If you want to ask questions about the most awesome quilt ever made that is behind me on the wall, go ahead and ask about that, because look at that. This is freaking fantastic. I think it makes a great background. But anyway, so that's the highest budget item, and that was free. Although I paid for all the t-shirts. I was going to say that's the highest budget item on the low budget review show. Anyway, there you have it. It's 2:27 a.m. on October 28th. And I'm Eric Smith for the Low Budget Review Show. Until next time, read more books.